Peace, everyone. Let's get right into the collective weekly message for 2026. Adventure awaits. The door has been opened. Okay, we are getting into your new life. Okay, and what is happening on a collective spectrum? I do feel like this is for those that have been doing the work. Okay, um, we have good news. Okay, absolutely phenomenal good news. The first card that came up and just kind of caught my eye, and I'm channeling this with the beautiful Archangel Uriel, okay, um, is uh, doorbell. Okay, so I've been having visions of kind of like someone, knocking on the door, destiny, that door being open, and to me, this is speaking to, an arrival, right? You're arriving not necessarily at your destiny point. This is where now you are arriving on the path, on the journey that is ultimately going to align you with your destiny, the final and most beautiful outcome of your life. And in order to get to this point, it's been very difficult. You've had to do a lot of the clearing work. You've had to do a lot of the self work where now you were able to clear out the generational cycles and patterns to align with what is true, to align with what you wanted to do, authenticity during that last journey, okay, that you've gone into. That journey has ultimately made you even question if you wanted to continue on the path, but you did. You didn't settle into the matrix. You didn't settle for what you didn't want to do. You knew that you had to, and it was crucial for you to follow the imprint of your heart. And my dear, you are there. And so now you're allowing the this new version of yourself to be guided by your heart, not by trauma, not by pain, not by, ill will of others, not even the will of others. This is where you are showing up as a flower that is blooming, allowing yourself to receive the sun. And so this, doorbell is speaking to arrival. Welcome. Welcome to your new life. This is where, opportunity is knocking. You are knocking at the door. And as you are going to open this door or knock on the door, there goes the door being opened for you. Opportunity is knocking back. Opportunity is like, oh, we've been waiting for you. Let's just play with her for a second. Knock, knock. Okay. And, I take that as a joke, but I do feel like, maybe, because listen, there's some people on my team that like to have fun. They might just be playing with me a little bit. The next card that came out is the Swans. This is for those that are in align with their eternal flame, divine counterpart, my dear. This is a new level of experience that's happening. Experience that I feel like is going to be very overwhelming on a soul. I don't want to say overwhelming, but you're ready for the next chapter that's happening in this merging between you and your divine counterpart. This is a beautiful dance that's ultimately taking place. You're going to feel this all over on a body level, on a soul level, on a mental level. There's going to be no denying this connection, right? And the beautiful unfolding that's been happening, the work that you guys done together to clear things out, now you're going to be able to experience each other, because it's no longer about, see, divine partnerships are eternal flames are for me mission based. From what I've come to know, what's been revealed to me, the purpose is to do work for the bloodline, for sure, and ourselves, and be able to align with higher versions of ourselves so we can access that home frequency, be able to journey closer to home together, right? And so you have this beautiful aspect of like the swans dancing, ultimately like blooming in love, understanding that the one has come into your life because you chose to come into your own life to honor yourself. And because you've honored yourself, you've been able to listen to your own voice. You've learned to put yourself first. Now your divine partner can come in and reflect that to you because you are no longer denying yourself. And, ooh, I mean, so just to go into it a little bit deeper, because I do feel like this is about, flowing in love. This is about, flowing in your divine feminine, divine masculinity. You know how these two counterparts work together as one, right? As one soul. You know, these two units make the full workings of that soul, right? In order to create life, you create life with a feminine and a masculine. In this case, divine feminine, divine masculine. This is co creation energy, right? Co creating with the divine, but co creating with your partner as well. And this is where you're getting to see the magic that unfolds in your life. Now, for you, some of you who don't have your divine partner physically in your life or haven't even met them yet, this could be just, the energetic energy of dancing together. But I'm getting this is very specific. This is for those who do have their divine partner and have done the clearing work out. The clearing work, they cleared it out. That's what I meant to say. Now, moving on, there is two cards that I did not like, but it was Detour and Red Herring. Okay, so detours speak to delays. It speaks to red herring, speaks to misleading information. If you just watched the other videos that I put, sensing evil, feeling evil, seeing evil, this was speaking to a so called attack that they tried to attack me with last night, and give an insight on how to clear it out. Okay. And I'm not at all like strange, with what the experience. I'm not at all like unfamiliar with those experiences. However, I do feel like the reason why this came up and this could be coming up on the collective reading is because you may not necessarily be, seeing evil in the same way. You may not have the same experience that I've had, right? All our experiences in this journey is different, it's unique. However, in like the sensing evil, feeling evil, seeing evil, this is where evil is very desperate, right? Opposition, those that have used you in your past life, as an energy fuel source because you didn't come into your willpower yet. This is their like desperate last attempts, okay? And what's, and trying to stop you from walking through that door. But Spirit is saying like the ship is already sailed, right? It's more so like they can make themselves known because I've had spirits make themselves known trying to attack me before, and in different ways. This was a much more forefront of like, oh, they're going to show their parasitic mouth, very like gray in hue, very, very sickly, to be honest with you. It just looked very sick. But regardless of that, we're moving on. Just know that if these attacks come up in your life, it's because they're trying to get you to a state of fear. They're trying to get you to, a state of anger, anything that they can like get you to a state of reaction of impulsivity. If you get into a state of impulsivity, and I'm sorry, I did say we're moving on, but I just gotta like address this for a second. They can like feed off of you, right? They can cause delays. There's no stopping the inevitable, but it's your choice if you're consenting to any delays or allowing anything to misdirect you. When you are in this path, it is about listening to that voice within, listening to the divine, listening to your true guidance, okay? And understanding that nothing can ultimately delay your path unless you say so. And if you're truly on this path, you're not going to allow anything that's false to delay you or to come up and even try to misdirect you to put you on another course direction when you put so many years into it. It literally makes no sense how desperate these energies can get. Okay. And then the next card that came up was like dog. All right. Dog speaks to kind of like a man's best friend. To me, I'm not saying that this is like a physical dog, because when we think about like guide dogs, right? This is what is kind of coming to me. It's speaking to, companionship, as far as like companionship from your team, your spiritual team, your guides, right? These cards are very like interpretive, but to me it is speaking to you being guided on the right path, that if you follow your guidance, if you follow your spiritual team, your ancestral team for the highest goods, those that are guiding you spiritually, right, the archangels, you're not going to be misguided. If anything, you're going to continue to stay balanced within, because that literally was the next card that was like balanced, right? This is speaking to being centered. This is speaking to, listening to your voice within, that regardless of what's going on outside of you, right? Because we can't control the outside world. We can't control these parasites wanting to be parasites. We could look at them and be like, "Oh, you're crazy." I wish you would learn to call on God. I wish you would call on God. We can sit here and say a whole bunch of different things, but the only factor that we can control is ourselves. Okay. And in controlling ourselves is we have to make sure that we are balanced within, regardless of whatever's appearing. We stay true to ourselves. We listen to the inner guidance. We have our conversations with God. This is where we stay centered. For you to even get to a place of being balanced and your team guiding you to a place of balance was not something that was easily earned. It was hard earned. Okay. And in that, you don't just come in and allow anything to disrupt that, right? One little thing is like, oh, I'm gonna let it just all fall apart. Absolutely not. Like, come on. This is a journey that it teaches you about your character. It teaches you about life, who you are. It shows you your ability to be vulnerable within yourself, your ability to be honest with yourself. It teaches you the heart that you have. It teaches you what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. It allows you to grow in ways that are unimaginable, especially when you dealt with trauma. It allows you to reclaim different aspects of your soul shard. This is a journey of bringing all aspects of self together so you can come back home. You don't go home to the creator missing parts of yourself, all wounded and banged up. And I'm not saying that you can't go stand in front of the creator with wounds and things like that, but regardless of these wounds or the things that have ultimately taken place, we go to the creator as whole as possible. I've done everything that I can to get myself together, God, because you are worthy of me showing up as the fullness of self, how you created me. Do you disrespect, you know, uh, an artist that creates masterpieces by taking its art and putting holes all over it, or holes being put all over it? Some drinks or stuff had been spilled, maybe some food crumbs on it. No, you cleanse it. Okay. It's you make sure that it's restored to its former glory. Here, creator, I'm giving you back what you've made, and it's beautiful. I've also tried to you know wrap it in gold or silver, just so the aspect of opening it is so much more exciting. you know and we can't make what the creator made any better. A masterpiece. But what I did was envelop in love. I wrapped it in silk. I gave it the best treatment that I possibly could until it was able to come back into your presence, so that you can open it and be proud that I was able to retain the beauty and the essence of the masterpiece that you created. That is how you go back home. Then we got 16, which is a 7 ultimately, and that is my favorite number. It says, stars, wishes do come true. Okay, this is, oh my God. What you've been trying to cultivate and master in this lifetime is nothing short of beautiful, divine, a miracle, where the stars have come down to this realm and blessed it specifically because you've been kissed by the stars. And you're going to realize that everything you've worked through, everything you've had to suffer through, everything that seemed impossible is going to now become possible. And this is because you've earned it. You've been true to yourself. You've been true to your star body. Star body. Ooh, I don't know why it came out that way. Light body. Okay. In the stars. And stars are beautiful creatures that shine bright. You're no longer allowing yourself to deny that light of the creator, that light of creation that engulfs you. Excuse me. that ultimately uplifts you to your highest versions of self. You are embracing the light that you are. You're very magnetic. You are beautiful. You are sentient. You are operating in your sovereignty. And it's been a difficult moment to get here. Now, the next card that came out was heart. This is because you've been following the yearnings of your heart. You have not known how things are going to play out, when it's going to play out. And that's, mystery is, okay, I like mystery. Surprises. Surprise me. You have, despite the hardships that you've encountered, okay, you followed your heart in this process. You knew that there was this bigger calling. And you're like, you know what? I can't allow myself to do anything else but this. And it seemed delusional. Okay. I've asked myself if I've been delusional in this process, but I guarantee you I am not. I know that I've been honoring and answering the call of my heart. Like, hopefully, you are as well, too. This is to speaking to fulfillment. This is speaking to heart upgrades. It's like you're wearing a new heart, because all the heaviness that you've experienced, all the heaviness that you've encountered in this lifetime, it's like kind of like the Grinch, when the Grinch grew a heart, you know, and it almost took you out in the process of growing the heart, and you were able to love, you were able to feel, you were able to feel the warmth, you were able to give yourself the love that you so desperately required. The flames of your heart have been ignited, and it's so magnetic that it's calling you, it's aligning you with everything that is right, everything that is true, everything that is perfect. This is where you are going. And then we have stepping stones. This is the process of arrival, step by step, way out, how to keep on going, baby steps, progress, spiritual growth. The stepping stones to me, okay, because the card next to it, I don't feel like this message is very specific, okay, on a weekly. And this is for someone who's been doing the work. I want to sit here and say that. Really doing the work, doing deep excavation, shadow work, processing your traumas, sitting with the feelings that you've been sitting. Now, this is where you take one step, and then the next step you take is a little bit bigger, and the step you take after that is a little bit bigger, and it's a little bit bigger, and it keeps moving until you get, to bigger platforms, right? This is you showing up for yourself. And in these stepping stones, you're arriving. This isn't stepping stones to even get to the door, where now the door to your, to your destiny is being opened. This is now the door has been opened. Remember, doorbell being the first card, and, welcome arrival. Now it's like, okay, now you're journeying through safe waters. You are journeying to, the garden in your oasis, right? Where that's like your destiny. And in these stepping stones, you're just getting closer to the fulfillment of your life that, God has created and for you, to ultimately follow. And in this, the chandelier card came out. This speaks to luxury, status, elegance, abundance. But more than anything, I feel like this is for someone who's earned that. You've reached a certain level of enlightenment and refinement in this process. Chandelier speaks to someone that's very classy, okay, as well too. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this is the stars, you're going to be, servicing, people in Hollywood. I want to service people who have kind hearts. I want to service people, just speaking for myself, I can't speak for you and your desires. I want to service people spiritually, and speak to people who are willing to do the work to show up as their best version of self regardless of their status, okay. And this is the work, and I know my worth, I'm but this is where you are aligning with those that are classy, those that see your worth, those that are not going to try to, price gouge you, those that see what you have to offer, see your elegance, see your beauty, see the status that you've risen to. And it may not necessarily be material right away, but they'll this is your stepping stones to step into what is meant for you, divinely created, and that is elegance, that is class, that is a certain level of status. When people look at you, they're going to be like, that is someone, because you are. And don't let anyone ever tell you different. The next one that came up was elephant. And y'all, I had watched this documentary on Apple TV, which is called The Elephant Queen. My God, I was bawling my eyes out during this documentary. Okay. And Athena was her name. Props to Athena. They haven't seen her when they did that documentary. They don't know if she's alive or not. And, wherever she is, may her soul, be at peace. But Athena was the matriarch of her family. To me, this is speaking to someone that's grand, because for elephant to come out, it speaks to someone that's grand in this process, but someone that's very gentle, someone that's learned to be gentle with themselves, someone that's been gentle with their inner child, with their wounded self, someone that has learned compassion within themselves. And in this gentle spirit is wise, and it's powerful, and you've been learning to respect your instincts. I do feel like this is elephant is also speaking to a growth in spiritual gifts, manifestations. I feel like this is telepathy. You're going to have deeper levels of telepathy where you're not questioning if these messages are coming from your mind. You're going to know, right? For um some, it's much more than just telepathy, right? But this is where you're going to start exploring how grand your spiritual gifts really are. And I'm getting the words, it's going to be shocking. For some of you, you're going to really realize how beautiful your gifts are, how beautiful they've been this entire time. Then we have the geese. Okay, the geese came out. um, and this is speaking, so some of you may be relocating, you know. Um, this is speaking to the quest, right? That is ultimately taking place in something pulled out at me, but I felt like it was a test, right? It was like, no, like this is not meant to be said. But this quest or this relocation is ultimately to align yourself with the places that you're going to be more fruitful in, and where your message can be heard. Whatever service you offer, whatever is the calling on your heart, this is where this is going to allow you to reach more people. So don't be surprised if you are relocated in this journey. I know that I have been. And for this to come up, it's kind of making me question, am I being relocated from the state that I was brought to? Because I thought this was home. And it might be. I just might be relocated to a different place in home. The next card that came out was the glass heart. To me, this glass can speak to being very fragile. I'm not taking this as actually being very fragile. I'm taking this as more as a clear heart, right? Your crystalline heart. You're operating from the higher levels of consciousness. This your heart isn't polluted by anything that's false. Okay. And in this, you know how to handle yourself carefully. You know how to handle others carefully who are going through, intense pains, intense traumas, who are going through the difficulties in life, because you've had to basically purify your heart. You've had to cleanse out everything that was heavy, okay, in order to be able to see clearly. So now your heart is guiding you to what is clear and what is true, because it's no longer polluted by the heaviness. It's no longer polluted by what is false. And you've fallen in love with your vulnerability. A glass can be, vulnerable, susceptible to being broken very quickly, right? But a crystalline heart is light, my dear. And when it's not mucked by everything that's false and everything that's just ucky, ucky, what is that? Ucky, yucky. Then you allow light to flow through it a whole lot more, a whole lot easier. And this is your heart being open. Oh, even as I'm speaking through it, I'm having like heart chakra openings. I'm feeling it. The next card that came up again, and we had like geese. This is speaking to uprooted. And I've said so many times in this process of actively a flower needed to be replanted, right? Because sometimes, we're trying to have this seed or this flower bloom in soil that, so we'll say seed, a seed bloom in soil that's not giving it its nutrients, that was never ultimately meant for it to bloom. That flower was planted, or that seed was planted in soil that would only cause trauma, where it would actually try to steal its nutrients, So I do feel like this is an aspect of being replanted in locations, that ultimately do facilitate that growth, which I said before, so I'm not going too deep into it. There is some cards that came out, but the overarching card for this message is ship, which is, speaking to going places. This is adventure. This is where you are allowing yourself to be the enterprise, to be the movement. You know that you are going places. You know that you are reaching people. You know that your ship has sailed, and it is time to discover the adventures ahead. And you're more than prepared for it. The only thing that came up really here um is, as far as some, like, things trying to come up and show themselves last minute to try to keep you, in a disempowered state, to cause delays or redirect you. You're so in tune with your heart. Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. There is two cards that came out to the side that just kind of caught my eye. I'm gonna go with Milky Way first. The Milky Way to me is speaking to, knowing your cosmic place in this cosmic design. Networking, this is speaking to expanding yourself. This is, again, co creating a reality that you love. Engaging with others. I feel like this is like a mountaintop, like you've arrived, right? I feel like you're going to be connected with a group of people that just celebrate you again, and they're going to see your gifts. They're going to support you. They're going to love you. They're going to um, even be promoting you. Again, you're going to be doing your own promotional work. Okay. I know I will. Okay. Because I'm awesome. and being, oh my God. And listen, a card just fell off. Like, it caught my eye. Golden ticket, big break, turning point, once in a lifetime. I told you, awesome. All right, I'm fantastic. And this is where you're going to be meeting your success. You really do have something special inside of you that you're birthing. So there's no more running from it. And you will be heard by the masses. You will be heard by those that ultimately need to hear your voice. There is another card that came up, and this is for those that are in tune with their eternal flame, because your eternal flame has been in your energy field, and it's been messages about your eternal flame coming forward. This is hot and heavy. Okay, if my video ain't for children anyways, so as adults, okay, fireworks. All right, this is where you are going to be feeling very passionate about your partner. Your partner's going to be very passionate about you. This is going to be hard to keep your hands off of each other, but y'all got work to do. Okay, so conversations is cool and stuff like that, but divine partnerships, okay, eternal flames, are mission based. Don't forget that. I had to send out a message. You know what I'm saying? Okay. This is where you actually get to experience each other and enjoy each other. This is a moment for celebration. This is a moment where you're able to spend that intimate moment together with each other, where it is uninterrupted, where this is a sacred union. This is, sacred space being shared, where you guys have worked on your oasis. This is now where you get to experience your oasis. You get to explore the sacred waters, if you know what I'm saying. I hope you do, because I'm not one of those readers, okay, that's gonna be telling you everything you want to do. That's your personal things in the bedroom are your personal things in the bedroom. And there's certain things that should be sacred. And they are. And it's not to sit here and say that certain things can be enjoyed or have had conversations with girlfriends that you trust. Um, but I'm getting this is a very private matter as to the unfolding and the intimacy that's going to be explored. Um, and for some of y'all, it's going to be very mind blowing because it's going to be a different level of engagement, a different level of intimacy that you've ever had with anyone else. And it's so fulfilling. It's something that is really going to be making, your heart melt and your soul yearn for more. So, congratulations to the sparks, the fireworks that are going off, and the life that you've been creating for yourself. You are at your new life, and it's going to unfold in really beautiful ways. Take care, y'all. From me in spirit.